This is the Enrichment Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Enrichment Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. Not the best of days for Tennessee fans. We will break down the very, very bad loss yesterday at home to Texas A&M. Tennessee blew a late lead. We'll discuss that with our basketball guys. We'll also talk about some of the odd happenings in football this week. Bobby Petrino, James Franklin who's going to join us the whole day, and also Lane Kiffin. So, packed show. First segment brought to you always by our good friends at Enrichment Federal Credit Union. Right now, with an Enrichment Visa, Visa Gold, or MasterCard, you can get a 3.49% fixed APR for 12 months on all balance transfers from higher interest cards. No transfer fee, no annual fee, no inactivity fee. Just a great way for you to drop your monthly bills and save cash in the process. Ask about an Enrichment credit card, Visa, Visa Gold, or MasterCard, and the balance transfer program this week. All right, I want to welcome in the crew today. We have, starting right to left, Jimmy Himes from the Sports Animal. We have Mark Pankratz, former member of the Vol staff under Bruce Pearl and under Conzo Martin. Mike Strange, Knoxville News Sentinel. And back with us for another year, Don DeVoe back in town. Former Vol coach, 500-game winner. Don, thanks for being here.
Good to be back.
Always good to have you here. And boy, you brought the Vols good luck.
Oh, man.
We'll start with you here. Since you hadn't been with us so far this year, Tennessee, I basically had this show put to bed. And it was done. We had 2 or 3 different segments that had to be wadded up and thrown away last night. Blew a 14-point lead with 14 minutes to play, led by 14 at the half, led by 4 with 30 seconds to play. What the heck happened?
Well, as I've said so often, these basketball games all boil down to the last 5 minutes. And this was a very typical grinded out type basketball game. It reminded me of the old days when I used to have teams playing against Ole Miss and Bobby Weltlich had them, and you could never pull away. They couldn't pull away from you. It was just 2 teams playing real tough man-to-man defense, strength on the perimeter. But last night's game, in my opinion, boiled down to the fact that Tennessee's big men do not demand the game. They don't demand the ball inside. With all the size that Jarnell has inside and Maben has inside, they can establish a low post position whenever they want. But they got to work for it, and they don't work really hard, in my opinion, to get the ball. And because they don't work hard, the ball doesn't go to them often enough. And then, that allows the defense to always play their perimeter players much tougher. And Tennessee is a guard-oriented basketball team. All the guys like to shoot that 3, and they shoot it too fast, in my opinion. But at any rate, the ball isn't going inside, and the big guys aren't delivering enough when the ball does go inside. And both big guys really kind of handle the ball well. They pass the ball real well to one another, but they don't demand it. And so the ball doesn't go in there as often as it should, in my opinion. And so consequently, they play your perimeter players tough. And last night, I thought that Texas A&M did a real good job of staying on Tennessee's perimeter players, and they didn't get good shots. In particular, Richardson, who's been so good at shooting late in the ball game. Last night, he didn't have hardly any attempts from 3-point range, and he's really been a key. So that to me was really a big part of the basketball game. Plus, that Tennessee had a negative assist turnover ratio, and that always really destroys a momentum for you in any game.
Which was a switch for them because they have been pretty efficient this year, especially in recent games. Mark, what did you see?
Well, on the other side of the ball, I think Coach mentions a lot of things offensively about pounding inside and shooting a lot of threes. We didn't shoot it well, turning the basketball over. Defensively is where we lost that game, in my opinion. Stokes, other guys, help defense was just not there. They're driving it in with, 36 seconds left. We're up 4 points. That's actually the one that lost the game for us. They drive at the length of the court with 6 seconds left and get a wide open layup when we're up 4 points. On their end, defensively, their guys were in gaps, digging down on our bigs. Our bigs have 8 turnovers and 1 assist. Just from a defensive standpoint, we did not show up. I don't know if it was because we were all of a sudden not making shots, so now we're in our own heads, off the ball. We always talked about help defense is one of the most unselfish things you can do as a basketball player. Helping a teammate out, get no credit for it, but if you don't do it, you're giving up layups. I think, I forget the guy's name, had 19 points in the second half. I mean, that just can't happen. That just can't happen.
Mike, Jimmy, your thoughts? Is there any chance this team They'd won 3 or 4. They'd won 4 in a row if you count Tusculum. Had a great win. You could argue that might have been Conzo Martin's most surprising big win. Going to LSU and beating them the way they beat them, that's not easy to do whether LSU's good or bad or whatever. That was a heck of a win. Any chance this team got a little full of itself?
I think at halftime it might have. Because in the first half, actually, I thought they played pretty good defense.
Right.
They held A&M to 25% shooting. The second half, A&M shoots 53%. For the game, A&M shoots 53% from three-point range. Now, that was a team entering SEC play that was shooting less than 30% from three-point range. And the guy that hit the game-winning 3 had made 2 threes a whole year going into it. But I thought the defense, they slacked off a little bit. I agree with Conzo Martin. They got stagnant on offense. They didn't make plays when they needed to defensively or offensively. Maimon misses 2 free throws. And I didn't think they did a good job of utilizing their timeouts. I thought McCray in the corner, if he's in trouble, call the timeout. You know they're going to foul you. But if you're in trouble, call the timeout. You can't hook somebody and get an offensive foul. So I thought those were key moments. And McCray, offensive foul, and then Maimon missing 2 free throws.
The timeout thing is interesting. Because I had a lot of people emailing and tweeting and texting. And why in the world don't you take a timeout there? And then talk to your old buddy Dane Bradshaw this morning. And he said, you know what, when we played under Pearl, didn't believe in taking those timeouts either a lot of times. So you get 2 different viewpoints on that one. What was your take on that, the game management down the stretch?
Well, speaking of timeouts, they're trapping you there. They throw the ball in McCray in the corner, and he's trapped. That'd be a good time to take a timeout.
Good time to take it. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. Your thoughts on Jarnell Stokes? I mean, this is a
just overall in the game. I thought I agree with everything the other guys have said, but the past 4 games, the key to this, a big key to this winning streak, this turnaround, was shooting 53% from 3-point range. Well, you knew that wasn't going to last. And last night you got McCray's 1 for 6 from 3, Barton's 1 of 6 from 3. And so it's time for something, you got to fall back on something else to compensate for it, and there just wasn't enough there again. And Jarnell Stokes was basically invisible in the second half except for making a couple of turnovers.
Well, see, that's where I was going to go. I mean, if you've got a guy, and you can tell me if this is unfair. I think he's talented. I don't know how mentally tough he is in terms of, you get 2 fouls on this guy, he turns into a ghost. And it's Casper out there. Scored 6 points, 5 rebounds. This is supposed to be a guy that's NBA potential. He's supposed to be going to the league. If he goes out there and gets 2 early fouls, he turns into vapor. So is that too cold on my part? Am I being too harsh on that, or is that just kind of obvious to everyone?
John, I would say this, that today's modern coaches, and I'm obviously an old school coach, but Dale Ellis and Reggie Johnson played for me until the game was won. I mean, we had enough timeouts that they shouldn't have to be taken out of the basketball game because they get 2 fouls on them. Today's basketball coaches, and all of them do it, when someone picks up 2 fouls, boom, they're out of the game. And McCray last night didn't get back into the game in the first half. Now I'm not second guessing the coach. I mean, that's his philosophy, but I'm just telling you, in today's basketball, coaches are running guys in and out, and I think it really destroys any momentum that a player has, in a particular game. There's plenty of timeouts with the TV timeouts and all, but last night, between McCray and Stokes, they only played a total of 47 minutes. Now, to me, they're 2 of the big horses for the Tennessee basketball team. They've got to play, and they got to play well. And they didn't play very much last night's game.
Well, it also, I think it impacts you if you're constantly looking over your shoulder. So, okay, if I make one more foul, I'm going to get the hook. Mark?
And the other way, Coach, that you can keep them in the game without having to worry about foul trouble is mix in some zone. Take away the aggression out of it by having to run out there and ball screen. But the reality for Stokes is, if he does not play hard, he's not a very good player, period. I mean, you can't go into a second half when the game gets on the line and you have 1 rebound, and you're supposed to be that all-SEC guy. At least Jordan, some of his mistakes were out of aggression. He was a guy that you could see down the stretch. He was trying to take the game over. We needed a basket. But those guys, they need to step up. The missed free throws is everything that everybody wants to talk about for Jaron. To me, it's the missed layup. There's pressure on free throws, no pressure on a layup.
All right, I'll tell you what, we got to catch a break. When we come back, Tennessee's tournament hopes, we said they were in trouble before the non-conference part of the schedule ended. The LSU game helped. You'd make a jump in the RPI, then you take a dip. We'll tell you how big of a dip when we come back. What does this mean for Conzo Martin? We know you're talking about it. We'll talk about it too. Conzo Martin's job status. Come back on the Enrichment Sports Source.